So today's job is to finally get around to sorting this out. You may recall last September I managed to reverse this into a tree at a campsite while I was attending Oso Retro in Margate. Half asleep and a rear window steamed up weren't good combinations, and anyway, as you can see, whoever painted this before, which was probably the idiot I bought it off, doesn't look like he used the proper flexible primer, so the paint has just flaked off rather than just sort of crack a little bit. So first things first, get rid of all this loose paint and then we can get on with spraying. Where's me wet and dry? So initially I'm just getting the underneath, just to break off the big bulk of loose stuff, like so, and then we'll get on with the sanding. It's a bit more than I thought. So anyway, right, sanding. Well, we're getting there. Got some nice smooth edges along there, nice and smooth all around there. So it's just this last little bit here, which is probably the worst. That's quite deep there, just to try and smooth out. Currently using the heaviest grain I've got, dry obviously, and also trying not to go too much into the actual fiberglass itself, or whatever these are made of. So yeah, let's finish that little bit off, give it a clean up and see what it's like. Right, that's all sanded back, and as always with these things, the best way is just with your fingertips, just lightly over. I can't feel any ridges or lumps or bumps, so I'm going to say that's just a little bit more in that edge, but that's pretty much good for the next step. We were using 120 grit, so I'll drop it right down to a really fine one with a bit of water and just try and get the worst of the sanding marks out of the paint before I give it a good clean up and mask it. So there we have it. That's basically the sanding done now. It's all nice and smooth. The worst of the sanding marks have been taken out. So really all that's left to do now is mask it up and then give it a final clean down with some thinners or something. So we're masked up, which was a ball ache because my masking tape is very old and didn't want to come off in strips, so lots of little bits, but we're done. So wipe over with a panel wipe and get some primer on there. I'm shaking. This is the bit I hate, shaking. I've got to spend ages now just shaking paint, up, down, left, right, twiddle, twiddle, twiddle. Oh joy. Oh, there'll be a professional painter with a machine that does this. Da, 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 da. Anyway, back in a second when it's shaken. So that's the primer on. It's clear, but it's flexible plastic primer. So that's on. It says on the tin it's going to be painted over in 15 to 30 minutes. This is what I'm using, Professional Spray Technology High Coverage Plastic Primer by Promatic. No idea if it's any good. We will now find out. So just wait for that to go off, then we can put some colour on. Got the first coats on. Just give that a minute or two just to tack off, and we'll stick another coat on. You probably can't see a lot from that angle, I might move you in a minute, but let's get this coat on first. There we go, there's next coat. Obviously just lots of thin coats so we hopefully don't get any runs. Well, that's the theory anyway. Let's move you. There we go, right, you can see it a bit better now. Although it looks a lot better in the picture than it does there. Anyway. Next coat. So, next coat's on, and it's starting to look one colour. You can see where the damage was. There is a slight indent there. So I was hoping I'd sanded out enough, but obviously not. But hey ho, this isn't obviously a show quality job. This is just a make it black type job, just to get me through this next show season, and then hopefully next winter I'll have the front and rear cones professionally painted, because they're both a bit tatty now, but this will hopefully just see me through this season. Right, just pause you for a second while this tacks off. So, slightly heavier coat on that time. Just try and sort of smooth it out a little bit, slightly less orange peely perhaps. But hopefully still not heavy enough to create any runs. I might just be getting the start of one there, but anyway, this will obviously have a quick sand with sort of 2000 grit or something once it's nice and dry and hard, to hopefully get rid of any imperfections, any small runs or debris and detritus, which I can already see has just got into the paint there. Downside of doing it outside. But, I think I'll let that one go off for a bit longer, because perhaps I did do that one slightly too heavy. I can see the start of some runs there, but not too bad. You'll notice I've masked out a lot further than I'm painting. That's just to try and, I'm no professional painter and this may well not work, but just to try and blend into the existing paint rather than have a hard line of old versus new paint, which I've got to try and try and eliminate. So I'm hoping that will just help blend it in a bit. As I said, this is certainly no professional job, but hopefully it will be alright from a few feet away. Anyway, let's pause you again until this lot's tacked off. So hopefully you can see it is black. Yes, there's lots of orange peel in there, and you can see there, if you get the light on it, which I think I'm just about see there. Actually, you can see it even more clearly on the phone than you can in real life, but anyway, you can see there the line where the old paint came off. That's the only one. Down the sides are not too bad, apart from the runs there, and there is a slight run there, and again it is quite orange peely, but as I said, I'm no professional painter. I'm in a garage and it's quite windy today, which isn't helping. What I am using is this paint, Monofill colour match spray paints, which was made up for me when I gave them the fuel filler cap to match the paint up with, because I had no idea. This car was originally white, so I had no idea what colour paint had been used to paint this black. It could have been a Toyota colour, it could have been, it was a Corvette colour as it turned out, albeit a much later Corvette. But yeah, I think I will let this just tack off. I think I'll probably give it one more coat, just so there's a nice thick layer of black on there for me to sand to get the worst of this orange peel off. So yeah, one more coat and I think we're done. So there we go, that's the last coat on. Again, I'll just let that dry a bit. Then we'll pull the masking tape off, shut the garage door and leave it alone to dry. Right, so there it is. Not perfect by any means, but it is black, which it wasn't before. So I think best thing now, because I know what I'm like, I have this nasty habit of thinking, oh, I'll just do this little bit as well, and I'll just do that while I'm here, and then I'm buggering stuff up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to shut the garage door and leave it to dry, and then I'll come back in a day or two, give it a sand and go from there. But it's black. Then the next job is to take the covers off these, paint the little black inserts that go down there and put them back on. So the car is nearly back on the road. Anyway, catch you in the next one. So we've had 3 days to dry, so it should be nice and hard now. I don't know if it's showing up on here or not, but it's slightly sort of discoloured just along that edge, and a bit sort of duller. Not sure if it really shows up or not, but hopefully that will come out with some sanding. On the whole, it's not too bad. Obviously we'll hope with a bit of sanding, oops, that we'll get rid of the joining lines, and hopefully make it look a little bit better. It certainly isn't a good paint job by any stretch of the imagination. You can see the marking there. Again, it does show up more on camera than you can see it in real life, but we'll see. We'll get a bit of 2000 grit wet and dry on here and see if we can make it look a bit more presentable. Right, well, it's still not brilliant. Still see join. Still not roll away in places. And you can still see a bit of orange peel through there. This was with the 1000 grit. So we'll now drop down to 1200, then 1500, then 2000. Hopefully that will be smooth enough. So for the last run over with some 3000 grit, just to really finish smoothing it out. And before anyone comments, I know I should be using some sort of flat sanding block, but I can't find it. And as I've said many times, this is far, far from a show quality paint job. I could have done a lot better if I'd had a bit more time. And I planned things a bit better, so I'd got all the stuff I needed to hand. But I was trying to get the car ready fairly quickly for a show that it was booked into. Unfortunately, that, like a lot of shows, has now been called off due to this coronavirus, COVID-19. Which appears to have the whole world in some sort of mass hysteria, because I don't know what it is, 30 people in the UK out of 60 odd billion or whatever we've got have died, even though they all had underlying health conditions and were probably about to die anyway. But beside the point, everything's been cancelled. But unfortunately it wasn't cancelled before I started this. But hey-ho, such is life. So yeah, just this final 3000 grit, just to really smooth it off. And then we can get on with some sort of cutting compound, which will probably only be T-cut, because I don't think I've got anything more than that. So there, I think that is about it. There we go, dry it all off and dig out some cutting compound. Alright, so here it is. As you can just see, some in there. I'm hoping that will disappear when everything's shiny. But it hasn't come out too bad, considering the lack of prep, and we all know with any paint job, prep is everything. This had very little, but actually it's not turned out too bad, considering. And as I said, this is purely just to see it through. I was going to say see it through this show season. We might not have a show season at this rate, but... So there we have it. Not perfect. And I haven't put any polish on it yet because I don't know if it really shows up, sort of there. T-cut just isn't quite enough to get those sanding marks out, so I'm going to need a slightly more abrasive compound, but you can just about see the join, but on the whole that's come up pretty damn well, considering how little prep and whatever. I'm quite pleased with that. So yeah, I will do a follow-up video another day, just once I've got these rest of the sanding marks out and given the whole area a good wax, and hopefully you'll barely know it's been done. Catch you again in the next one.